This is the lecture for Thursday, the 15th of April, 2021. This is, of course, period. Well, it doesn't matter what period it is for those of you at home. Okay. What is a Stakhanovite? I'm going to pick by rolling the die. Oh, you know.
It was someone who was like a supporter of Stalin during that time.
Not just a supporter of Stalin, Ms. Kenner.
They specifically promoted exceeding over Stalin's quotas.
Yes, in the 5-year plan. So Alexei Stakhanov is a coal miner, and his mine has its workers cut because they're building new mines because of the 5-year plan, whatever. But they're actually expected to cut more coal than they had before when they had far more people. And Stakhanov is hero of Soviet labor because what he does is he goes well above and beyond the quota. How is this done? Well, people fudge the numbers, but also every other miner in the mine gives Stakhanov part of their quota, so he gets credit for doing literally superhuman deeds. And it's these other superhuman deed doers that become the heroes of Soviet later. This is the Stakhanovite movement. You don't do what the government asks you to do, however impossible it is. You do more than they ask you to do. Far more. For Comrade Stalin. Out of love for Comrade Stalin. Tovarish Stalin. Now, the reality of the 5-year plan is... gee, golly whiz, gosh darn. Yeah, a bunch of steel mills are built and a bunch of coal mines are used. Iron is produced, weapons are produced. But the Soviet economy still lurches from starvation, famine risk to starvation, famine risk. And production quotas almost never, unless the figures are fudged or you have some Stakhanovite chicanery going on, meet what the 5-year plan is supposed to have. So why is this the case? Why is Soviet labor not rising to the occasion? Why are the Russian people not proving themselves worthy? Please close that window behind you. Of the 5-year plan. And if you want, you can move because of the fan behind you. It's up to you. I just don't want you to get sick again. So
move to this one.
Wherever you want. You could move over here to completely away from the fan. Whatever works. Mm. It can't be because the concept of a central government planned economy doesn't ever work. No. That would violate the Leninist, Marxist, Stalinist interpretation of Marxian theory. We can't have that. So it is not, definitely not, the very principle of a centrally directed, government-directed economy. So why does the 5-year plan fail? Well, it can't be because the actual plans they come up with the figures they come up with, are purely political, designed to please Tovarish Stalin and the Politburo, which is the leading oligarchy under Stalin, who are basically his cronies and drinking buddies. And below that, the various communist officials in the various oblasts, that is, provinces of the Soviet Union. No. It can't be because the quotas are wrong, and it can't be because the planners were inaccurate in their plans, because they're the bestest, smartest ever planners. So, if the 5-year plan goals are not being met, if in fact the 5-year plan goals are causing problems, it is not because of some flaw with the concept of government-directed economy, and it certainly isn't because the 5-year plan has problems with the actual details. No. It is because foreign agents, spies, and vandals and wreckers have infiltrated the Soviet Union. And these foreign agents, spies, wreckers, and counter-revolutionaries are purposefully sabotaging factory production, mine production, railroad transportation, and every other aspect of the Soviet economy. These enemies of the people are why Comrade Stalin's beloved 5-year plan doesn't work. It's also why the Ukrainian famine happens. Because the damn farmers are a bunch of traitors. At least they have traitors in their midst. So, if the real problem with Soviet agriculture, forcibly collectivized, and Soviet industry, centrally planned through the 5-year plan, if the real problem with those is enemy agents, spies, wreckers, agents provocateurs, saboteurs, and all the rest, enemies of the people and counter-revolutionaries all, then the solution to both of these situations is the NKVD. The NKVD is the Soviet political secret police. The Gestapo is based on the NKVD. Now, here is the history, generally, of the NKVD. Back at the beginning of Bolshevik times, when Lenin first takes power, they're called the Cheka, and they're headed by a guy named Felix Dzerzhinsky. And they terrorize anyone who could be a traitor within Soviet society, and they unmask foreign agents, and this is during the time of the Russian Civil War. And the Cheka, well, turn up the heat a little bit. The Cheka uses the most brutal and terror-filled of methods to achieve their goals. So when you are taken to the Lubyanka, which is a notorious Cheka headquarters and prison, in the Lubyanka, which has a statue of Felix Dzerzhinsky in its plaza, or had, you will be subject to all of the tortures that people have been able to come up with over the centuries. They hadn't quite perfected brainwashing yet, but they were getting close. Trial and error. Always trial and error. Well, after the Civil War period, it becomes the GPU. And then it's the NKVD. And these are all acronyms or sets of initials for various phrases in Russian that describe this agency. Now, the Tsar had his Okhrana, which is basically a forerunner of the Cheka. So the Russian people are not averse. They're not unfamiliar with the concept of a government secret political police. But while the Okhrana was, under the Tsar, fairly inefficient and just brutal, the Cheka was very, very good at what they did. And the NKVD continued this tradition. After Stalin's time, the NKVD's name changed to the KGB, and it's unclear in Putin's Russia whether the KGB is still the KGB or whether it's divided into a bunch of little organizations. There is still a heart of KGB. In fact, Putin himself was a KGB colonel. What that means is that Vladimir Putin, president and dictator of Russia, is a man who was trained as a secret political police agent. Which means it's like having somebody trained by the Hollywood version of the mythical CIA. People trained in secret methods of brainwashing and thought control. So the NKVD is unleashed on the Russian people. And in every factory and on every farm, people are disappeared. How does that happen? Well, it's a mystery. But usually in the middle of the night, booted steps come up the stairs. They either knock on, they usually knock on your door. You open the door and they take you. After a while, people actually pack their bags in preparation for a visit by the NKVD. And when they took you, you would divulge the names of other traitors. But what if you're not a traitor? You will divulge the names of the other traitors in your network. But I'm not part of it. You will. And people are tortured until they divulge the names of other people in their network of spies and saboteurs. The NKVD does not take innocent people into their custody. The only question is, what is the degree of your guilt and whether you will be allowed to return to your life after you come clean with the NKVD. Anyone is subject to this. In fact, the higher you are in Stalin's hierarchy, the more likely it is that you will be visited by the NKVD. Stalin's chief people lived in a beautiful Art Deco apartment building in Moscow, and the NKVD made nightly visits up a special staircase to, well, not a special staircase, but to get the people.
In order to create a false threat, that's probably one of the most efficient ways. Is actually, like, it's the most brutal way and most inhumane, definitely, but actually having, like, convicting people and convincing them almost and getting the information that you want.
Well,
even if you know that it's not necessarily true, but like for political reasons, making it seem like there's an entire race of traitors and that's why your government is failing.
of course. No, absolutely. That's what they do. Look, the Chinese communists go further. Everyone who's taken in has to write several self-confessions. And it's like going to psychological therapy, but the point is to unburden yourself of the guilt of being a thought criminal and a traitor to the Chinese Communist Party. The Chinese took what the Soviets did and went further with it. They had, they're later in history, so. But yeah, oh, you bet it works. Now, some results of this include the Great Purges of the 1930s. Now, a purgation is when something is cleansed of impurities. So what's happening in the Great Purges is that the NKVD is identifying the traitors, the wreckers, the counter-revolutionaries and spies that are working against the interests of the Soviet people and against the interests of Comrade Stalin. Now, it was, you were taken or disappeared, you were tortured, people in your network would be taken, and then some of you would be put on trial, in a show trial. So, please get the lights and close the shades, please, as we'll take a look at some of the results of this. I'll come back when I'm done.